world.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a special news bulletin from Westbed, 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 world. Westbed, world.
We are now.
So,
Okay.
so our recording bot is in full effect now. We're good.
Full effect?
Cool. Well, fantastic. I know it's been a while. When was the last time we recorded, by the way?
I don't remember. It was actually
Right before we made the joyous adventure.
well,
Oh, it's
no,
true.
well, that's true. We did record one time without Cody. So I would say it was
Cody
probably
was
a
not there.
week or two before. So it was probably sometime in May.
Cody, were you? Did you listen to that episode?
About like 20 minutes ish.
Wow. So he just heard me talk then, because I talked a lot on that episode.
You did.
Yeah. What was it even about? I forgot.
You know, it was one of those hodgepodge episodes where we talked about everything. But I think at the time what it was Johnny Depp and Amber Heard,
Yep.
right? That was what was
right.
happening. We talked about the formula
Baby
shortage.
Yep.
Yeah. I felt like there was something else that was happening at the same time. Oh, inflation maybe? I don't know. I got really political. It was a bit different, but I was
a bit uncody. Cody.
I was feeling the
hated it.
pressure. Feeling the pressure, and things were getting more expensive, so I felt like I needed to say my piece.
So now we've all Cody's been out here for some time, which is why I believe I think he had just gotten out here. He was trying to get situated out here in the wondrous world of Texas, and he was getting situated. So that's why he missed that one. And then of course we made our venture out here, and here we are, back at it. I know I've had quite a few people hit me up saying, "What the heck? Where's the episode?"
Yeah, well, part of the reason for waiting was I wanted my accent to start coming in. But you know,
Hey,
it's just
y'all.
not coming through like I thought. People keep telling me if I wear cowboy boots and hat that it'll come faster, but you know, I'm just not willing to go to that level just yet.
Every now and then it comes out of Cody. I think he's been here longer.
Maybe.
No, it really does, and I have to fight it. And like I'll be typing something. It's not really even in words, or at least I don't notice it in my words. But when I'm typing, like on chats or Teams or whatever, I'll want to say y'all, and then I'll be like, no, I'm not gonna say y'all. I can say you guys or everyone or whatever, but I end up or whatever. I don't like I come to, because you know your brain kind of I type Y and then like apostrophe, and I'm like, whoa, apostrophe, why am I going out of my way to type the apostrophe? And then I do this, like, then I kind of like divulge into this thing where I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. That's not who I am, and then I end up saying something else and rephrasing it specifically just so I don't do that. It's my form of rebellion, I guess.
Yeah, well, and if you really want to trigger people that are like native to Texas, because you know, like the thing is one of the things I'm learning is, I mean, I work in the IT industry, and I mean, everybody that I work with, majority of them aren't from Texas. Like, I don't know if that's just normal, but it's like, of all the people that work for me, I would say one person is a native person that was born here in Texas. Everybody else is from like Ohio or Utah or Wisconsin, or you know what I mean? Like, I got all kinds of people. So I'm not really like digging my trenches with people that are here. But if you really want to trigger someone that's really from Texas and they've got the thick accent, is you just say you all instead of y'all, and they just look at you funny. They're like, why? Why would you go all that way to pronounce that?
So real quick before I forget, because it's been so long since we did this, you know, I forgot to say what's up to all our viewers. And hey, Twisted World, what's going on? We're back. What's up, guys? We're back.
We're rusty. That was rough.
What was that?
That was rough. Hey, you know what though?
Why did you have to cut the tempo like so hard?
Well, because I want to make sure, you know, that people jump on and be like, are we on the right show here?
Listen, we're on like episode like 32 at this point. If they don't know what they're listening to by now,
I'll let you, Cody, you do it. Let's hear it.
we already like
It's done. We're in.
Just being here.
It's
This isn't like this isn't a mental health checkup. We're not like seeing how they're doing.
Well, hey,
they're checking in on us.
I'll be honest with you. My last 2 months, I need a mental health checkup. It's been rough. Moving to another state. I mean, I listen. I'm glad to be here. It's great.
I think we should talk about the crazy stuff that's happened. I mean, Cody had crazy stuff too. Like,
well, I mean, I think anyone that moves has to go with crazy stuff. But I mean, I've only in my life moved from like town to town and hated moving every time I did it. So to pack up and move across states, Cody had the benefit of just being able to fly and everything kind of be shipped there. But you say the benefit and you say that kind of loosely because I think Cody got here like a month before his stuff did.
Was it a month, Cody? Was it that long? How long was it?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair to say a month. It was definitely a struggle in the first few weeks because in my stuff was my birth certificate, and you don't think about that too much when or at least I don't. I don't. I mean, some people are like, "Oh, bro, you got to bring that." I'm like, "Really? Are you thought about that?" Because I didn't think about that. How many people think about that? I don't think about my birth certificate. It's because I'm going to a new job, and usually, like, one form of identification is enough. I guess not. Guess you need that, or else it's super illegal. And then they let you go because you don't have that. But we made accommodations for it. But anyway, we ended up getting it. But it was this whole process. Like, I think my mom had to get a copy from California and then send it to Texas just so I could have a original copy of my birth certificate. So
what showed up first? I mean, your car showed up pretty quick, right? Or no?
Yeah, I had my car before anything else.
Well, after the shakedown, right? After they had to empty their pockets out to the man that kept all that hostage, they finally got their stuff, right? How that works?
Yeah, and then half of it's like broken. A lot of furniture in there is just...
Oh my god.
Oh my yeah. So that was my thing. Is like, okay, I've always heard horror stories, right? Like, first off, anyone that doesn't live in California that moves out to another state, if you don't have an understanding, like, it is like 3 to 4 times more expensive to move out of California. Like, you move out, like we have a buddy that lives up in Oregon, and it was like $3,300 for a moving truck. It was like $9,000 in California for us to rent that same truck. And it had less mileage and all that. Like, it was a pain. So it's like, to move out of California is already expensive, and then you're like, when you have a moving provided for you, it's like, oh, that's a lot of money. But I always heard horror stories that they, the service is crap. So anyways, I was like, no, I'm a cheapskate. I'm not going to do that. We're going to do these U-boxes, and we're going to drive the truck and the trailer. I have a travel trailer. We're going to tow it across the country. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was great is a loose term. I did have fun. The fun part was getting here because the trip was rough. We had 2 blowouts on the trailer, one of which was in the middle of a thunder and lightning storm, to which I handed Aaron the tire iron and said, "You can change the tire." And he gladly did it. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't paying attention to the lightning that was striking behind us. But it was great.
Living on the edge.
If anything, we're professional tire changers on a trailer. We just did it. 10 minutes, we were done. It was great. But anyways, 2 blown tires.
It was like an hour.
The first one was an hour. Listen, we had to figure out how our hands worked. I don't listen. I'm sorry. I know I look rugged looking, but I'm not rugged enough to change a tire on a trailer. Or at least I just thought maybe I wouldn't be the one guy that had a blowout on the way to, So anyways,
it's a lot more difficult than a car. I mean, by a lot. It's not. I think some people.
It's a lot more difficult than a car.
And this trailer isn't like 10 feet long. I mean, this thing's
24 feet.
24 feet. It's attached to a vehicle. So it sounds easier than it is. So yeah, it was. We figured it out. Took us over an hour the first time. But in Thunder and Lightning, we smashed it out in 15 minutes. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Anyways, the long story short there is I spent, a bunch of money buying new tires because it happened more than once. Yeah. And check engine light came on, and the hotel reservations that fell through because of a 73-cent charge that the hotel would not allow us to pay out of pocket. So, it was fun. It was fun. It was great. I will never do it again. I'm going to die in Texas at this point. Yeah, so,
absolutely not. Not to mention the U-Box catastrophe on both your side and mine, just left and right.
Just a nightmare. And I know that I know that you guys chimed in today for the Moving to Texas podcast, but we do need to change the topic and probably talk about something nefarious.
Yes. So,
like California taxes. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank God we're gone. No. So the dead internet theory, right? So I think Andy, you brought this one up. Did you guys look into this extensively a little bit? You guys know a little bit about it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to go too deep because I think we're going to go into more of a deeper conversation. But this came up when I was listening to a lot about the Elon Musk thing, right? So he's buying Twitter. He puts out there he's going to buy Twitter, kind of whittles them down. They go, no, we don't want to sell to you. And then realize that the stock takes a hit. And they're like, okay, we'll do it. It's best for our people. Do we do this? Well, his first push at really like looking at everything goes, well, I feel like there's an issue with bot accounts, fake accounts on Twitter. I would like to see true numbers of like users. I want to see the numbers, and we need an estimate of like how many of these accounts aren't legit or secondary accounts or bot accounts. And all of a sudden I started hearing this like dead internet theory thing get thrown around, and I'm like, what in the world is a dead internet theory? So it's part of the reason why I picked at it today. I mean, we've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks about recording a new episode, but now that we're actually talking about it, it's a little after the fact. But, he pulls out of the deal saying that, he doesn't want to buy this because, I think it was 70% or 80% of the population on Twitter he believes to be bots. And they won't provide him with the data. They won't provide him with the actual data saying, hey, this is how many users we have, other than just saying this is how many users we have. And so anyways, go ahead.
Well, I just want to touch on that because you're talking about Twitter specifically, just so we're on the same page.
I am.
And one article I read, the guy, and it's funny because I'm on Twitter. I follow Twitter a lot. I get these Twitter. Either you guys on your Twitter accounts fairly often?
Yes. Yeah. So, I'm not very active, but what I mean is I go on there and I look at football stuff and sports stuff and conspiracy stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
So people I follow and other like have all these additional followers, and then you see their comments, and that's kind of how Twitter works, right? And it's funny. So this guy makes his comment, and I go back and I go, man, it totally adds up, because the guy makes a comment. And he's like, and can you believe how many women are posting about their private sections and doing things and, hey, who wants to get with me? But this guy writes about something that Elon was kind of talking about and stating that these aren't even real people. They're just trying to get the likes, the follows, and things like that to just kind of keep like Twitter rolling, right? And it's crazy. So you see like these provocative posts from people, and they've got 100,000 likes or 200 or 300, but they're saying things that like you just don't. I mean, maybe the offset chance of some girl out there who's got some issues post some stuff like this, but it's like rampant, right?
Yeah.
And this guy's saying like these are just pirated pictures, and these posts just go out there by leaps and bounds. And this is just Twitter. Like, we're going to go deeper into what this theory.
So dead internet theory is more than just one platform. The reason I brought this to the table is because what's happening kind of relevant to pop culture is that you got Elon Musk with the potential of buying, Twitter. He backs out the deal, and now the courts are saying that he has to buy it, and they're gonna go into this whole long case, and it's whatever. It's going to be dragged out, but the idea of dead internet theory kind of popped its little head up during this whole process. And it was, I can't remember the timeline, but there was this idea that, in like 2016, around the time after the election with Donald Trump, that, nefarious actors.
Back to Trump, doesn't it?
Right. Because if we remember this, right, the idea was that Trump shouldn't have won. There was no idea. The Democrats were paying into this idea that they were going to promote Trump because he was the easiest to beat. He was so far out there. And then all this stuff happened, and Hillary wasn't supposed to lose, and he won. And a big reason why he won is he used his social media platform, right? He used Twitter, he used Facebook, he used all these things to broadcast his message, and get himself out there. So the idea behind this theory is that some time after the election, the internet died, because of nefarious actors basically saying that it was broken and that we were allowing people to be able to do things. So they killed the internet with the idea that everything on the internet now is procedurally generated. It's AI, right? And that now, I believe that to not be true, right? I'm the one that brought this to the table. And so my take on this is this idea that I don't believe it to be true. I believe it to be something along the lines of, that there is maybe a portion of it, right? That, like we talked about, birds aren't real, right? And the idea that all birds are dead. But I believe that, if we're going to talk about, like, the idea would be probably a little bit more, make more sense that maybe not all birds are dead, but that a good portion of the birds are dead, and that there's still real birds out there. But it's that idea that your inner circle, the people that you see every day, are interacting with you on the internet. That's the theory that I take. But that everything in between is fictional. Everything in between is AI. Everything in between is just made up. And so they started blaming this on this idea that basically because the Democrats lost and they had major control over these social media sites, that they went in and they basically said, eliminate access to everyone, and everything is now procedurally generated so that they can make it sway or lean any way they want it to. But I'll let you kind of run with it, Aaron, because I think you did a little bit more research than myself. But it was this idea that bots overran all the humans, and now pretty much when you go online and you have 11,000 people that are following you, you may really only have about 25 people that actually know you, but the other ones are all bots that are generated there for the intent of drawing interest, right? That sells or driven or something like that. So anyways, go ahead. What do you got?
Well, so first, before I get into this, Cody, did you look into this heavily, a little bit?
I mean, I watched a few videos, but I wouldn't consider myself an expert.
So the first thing the first thing I just wanted to touch on that I saw is, as of, and 180 million of what I'm about to say is just in the last few months, which is kind of crazy. But in the 2022 May, I believe, as of 2022 May, 5.3 billion people are supposedly on the internet. Okay. So take that into effect. 5.03 billion people are supposedly on the internet through social media, email sites, and registered on purchase sites like Amazon. Just when you do anything where a person has to register themselves, 5.03 billion people. Now, okay, so there's 7 billion people in the world, right?
Right.
And so,
well, I think it's 8 now.
Is it 8 billion?
I think it's 8 billion. Or it's close to it.
And the winner is 7.96 billion people. Pretty much 8.
Close enough. 8 billion. 8 billion.
Listen, let's round up.
Okay.
Let's just make up about 7 million people. It's fine.
Noise.
So we'll call it 63%. 63% of the world is registered on the internet in some form. Okay. 63%. And a big chunk of that is third world. Now, we did talk about we talked about social media sites before and how a lot of third world countries still have access to Facebook and things like that. But just the fact to think that 63% of the world's population is registered on the internet. And this theory, though, would suggest that, like Andy had said, in 2016, I guess, their beliefs are that the internet was overtaken by AI.
AI.
That AI have been, we know that bots have been formed for quite some time to get you to look at ads. They pop up when you click certain things, clickbait and cookies and all these different things all have an effect on the AI bot system of advertising. Well, the theory is that it's gone to a whole nother level, that this AI has taken a whole nother form, and that it can create personalities. It can create, of course, artificial people within these worlds. So, when you see these posts, kind of like this one writer was talking about Twitter, where you see these females in these, semi-provocative pictures saying all these provocative things. And it's really just an AI to get you to click and respond, in turn causing algorithms to then, send you ad advertising. This other person in this other article also mentions the weirdest thing that everybody talks about, how you could be talking with your friend in your living room, mention something, open up your Facebook, and then there's an ad for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's believed that now where it gets extreme is that some of these people are believing that more than 75% of the people out there aren't real people. So if you've got 22,000 friends, the reality is how many of you ever met them in person is their mentality. Have you ever truly met these people? And the fact that they may not be real people at all, and that they are part of. Now, this guy goes as deep to say government psyops. So this is where it gets weird, I guess, is that the government is trying to control us through social media sites, shopping,
Well,
and
but I mean,
things in that nature, right?
isn't that what that's what kind of what the take is? I understand that the take isn't that Trump is, but what it was, the idea that they were fighting a social war when it came to that election, the 2016 election. It was all about who controlled social media. Obama kind of controlled it in 2008 and 2012, kind of became the first like semi-popular on social media president. But Trump really took off and did a lot of that. And then that's when you started to see, after that 2016 shell shock, right? You started to see more restriction, right? They started, shadow banning and those types of things, and restricting certain content, and marking certain content as fake and some content as not fake, even though it was clearly fake. But the idea is, I believe it to be intentional, right? So the AI you're talking about with regards to like Alexa, right, or Siri, is that they're constantly listening, right? You say their name, even if you don't say their name. I mean, I remember being in my kitchen at my house in California, and I was talking about something, and Alexa popped up and says, if you would like for me to search for that, there's 300 and something items on Amazon right now that you can buy that. If I can add it to your cart. And I was like,
Nope,
whoa,
Siri.
Alexa, stop
Yeah.
and stop listening to, like there's a command I had to go through to like make her not active listen. There's an actual command, and people don't know that. You just have echoes in your house and they just go. Now, the funny thing is, you're right. My wife wants a certain sweater. She starts talking about it in front of Alexa to see if it'll pull up on her phone. And oftentimes it works, right? Oh, those Christmas sweaters you sent me a couple days ago, I want those back, and it's really funny. But I think the intention behind that original AI that you're referring to is sales driven, right? It was this, the Wallies of the world where you're riding around on a chair all, obese and everything, and it's just ad. That's where the AI concept comes from. Is it was driven to draw, interest into pulling people in. However, the dead internet theory takes it a step further, and that is that the AI has now got a mind of its own, interacting in a way to more than just profitability and sales, right? It is a mind controlling, and this is weird because I don't really go deep into the conspiracy theory of things, but being technical in the way that I am, and anyone that's in IT like loves Terminator, is at least a part of Terminator, and looks at Skynet. Like, we have a phone system at the new job that I've got, and it's called Skynet, and I'm like, that's equally a terrifying name as it is an awesome name, right? IT fan, cool, that's awesome. But at the same time, I'm like, why would you ever name some piece of technology Skynet? You're predicting what's going to happen in the future. But I say all that to say that the future with AI has always been terrifying. It's this idea that it can kind of grow on its own and manipulate on its own. The idea with this is 70 to 80% of your interaction on the internet is driven by fake stuff. Now, there's some that are blatantly obvious, right? We get, the three of us are men, right? So as a man, and maybe it happens to women too, but as a man, I get the fake follows. I get these fake comments that say, "Oh, come cuddle with me," and I'm like, "Oh, come on! Like, seriously? I just want to get on my TikTok. I just want to get on my Instagram."
Whoa, wait, whoa.
No, seriously.
Cody's upset. He hasn't had any of those yet.
I don't have any concubine right now. Zero.
They're
all fake.
They're all middle-aged Indian. No, I'm just kidding. They're all AI. It's all generated to draw interest. And this as any man. I'm just saying, you've gone through this. Everyone. I literally got one today, and I'm like, this is retarded.
I think I need a minute.
Dumb.
Cody thought he was on top of the world. He's like, look, babe, I'm your only one. I got you, but I just want you to know I'm wanted.
They've told me, we've had so many conversations, like we've had such intimate connections. I refuse to believe it.
Yeah.
Also, like, I changed my profile pic once, and then I just immediately got like 3 of those. They even text me. They even have my number somehow. Like they're jumping through hoops to meet with me, dude. We just haven't been able to meet up yet because of scheduling conflicts, and it's just,
Is it because she needs a bus ticket and she wants you to buy like
she wants these
visa
prepaid
for
cards,
you to,
and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Just give me your Venmo kind of thing. And It just never works.
It never works out. Never
Yeah.
works out. So, but the idea is it's everywhere, in everywhere, in
But listen,
everything.
but
Even
the
WoW, even WoW.
but it goes deeper though. So you got to understand that. I mean, this stuff realistically started in the 50s. You realize that, right? When I think his name James Vickery discovered the ability to implement subliminal messages, and the human mind reacts to it, right? And it really goes back to that. So way before computers were in homes, before internet, you're talking. This dude was implementing messages into the first original ads at the beginning of movies, right? And he was like eat popcorn, and they noticed an uptick in purchasing of popcorn and drinks, and it increased the concession sales. And so when this dude discovers this, I mean, now we're talking 2022, and we have technology that the AI can do it, right?
Yeah, but I
And
mean, but is that the intention behind where the dead internet theory came from? So there's the idea that dead internet theory, right? Like we are selling products. Honestly, every single one of us that see this on the internet, like it's either a scam or they're trying to get me to buy something, right? That's the take. That's the take that we usually go down.
Persuasion of the masses is what the dead internet theory is to state, that out of those 5.03 billion people, that more than half of those aren't really people. Right? Some would say as high as 80%. Like that's extreme, I'm sure. 80% of 5.03 billion, you're figuring are all bots and AI from around the world, right?
But I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm a billion trillion dollar company. I come up with the artificial intelligence. I mean, you can weaponize that. I mean, it's really like, and I say weaponize not in the sense of like I'm going to do physical harm, but you know, maybe you get riots to happen because you pump up a certain thing, or you comment on a certain thing, or you get people to drop advertising on a specific candidate because this candidate stands for something that you know what I mean? Because
Wizards of the Coast stock goes up because Cody's not real. Let's be real. I mean, the dude drops some pictures of some cards, and next thing you know, they've gained a few $1,000s right out the gate. It's crazy. I mean,
I'll be honest with you. I go to a new site today for work, and I instantly look for a card store, and so now it all starts to trace back.
Thank you, bot
that
Cody.
I remember Cody posting pictures of cards. In even in a WoW chat, we weren't even talking about Magic. It was a WoW chat, World of Warcraft, and here we go, Magic cards popping up. So you know what? You may be right.
Listen, the pieces, the puzzle kind of fits, right? I mean, Cody's a little off tilt, so it's quite possible he's not
There's only
human.
one person on this call that's off tilt,
Cody,
and it's clearly you. But let's move on. So I'm really shocked that you haven't brought up UFO stuff on this, because it's usually your go-to. So I figured I would bring it up before we got to this awkward part of the conversation.
We're still fresh. I mean, I wanted to give it a minute and then just bring up the reality that, okay, so
because I mean it could work. I mean, you could. I know you plug it. You're somehow able to connect UFOs to everything, like everything, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense. But I mean, it could work. I don't know how. I'll let you connect the pieces, but I mean, I'm just thinking in my mind, like the technology would be advanced enough to be able to do something like that. But would anybody be aware? Like, what's the telltale signs that 70 to 80% of the internet is fake?
Well, here's the thing. I think that the aliens, they get tired of going out to these middle of America places and abducting these like non-intelligent individuals and making these crop circles, right? So these things started bleeding out. So they're like, man, how do I get the middle American man to come out his house so I can abduct him, right? Well, they send provocative messages from hot chicks, and then the guy like Cody's like, man, I got all these great people following me. I should go check out who they are. And next thing you know, he's gone, right? And he's got some probing happening. So,
hey, bro, that's a win-win.
That's a win-win.
We call that a W. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, this is off the rails.
But listen, 5.03 billion people, right? Do you know that 85% of the world's population is in the third world poverty-stricken country?
Yeah.
Okay? So to think that 63% of the world is on the internet, all over, is it possible? Yes. But what these guys are saying is that, again, that these are majority, half, 75%, 80%, whatever you want to call it, is bots trying to control the rest of us that really are. They're not the dead theory, internet theory. I only saw one person, and it was like the dumbest thing in the world. Like, this dude's writing articles on the internet talking about everybody on the internet is fake. Well, we all know that that's not true because we're on the internet.
I mean, that's
right?
the idea
So-
behind that is the idea behind dead internet theory. My personal take is I think there's some validity to it. What I mean by that is I think it's extreme to call it dead internet theory. I think the idea is that the internet isn't as big as we think it is. I think it's as big as we think it is. I think as far as people, it's not as big as we think it is. I think that they say 5 point something billion, and maybe that's true, but Samsung's sold everywhere. So the idea is that you're interacting with people that probably can't interact with you in most cases. So when somebody likes a post and there's 22,000 people that like the same post, I'll take it a step further. I think memes are a perfect example of where we are today. Rather than taking things serious, like the idea that there may be something to this, right? That we know there's bots, we know that it's overrun, we know that they're, and I do quotes in the air until we do a video podcast. Right now, I'm just going to walk you through. It's air quotes. The idea is that it's. Is it fake? Is it? We know that this stuff's happening, but I can still interact with the people that I do know. My question is when you interact with someone that you don't know, are you really interacting with that person, or is it something artificial? I believe Musk posted something about what's your favorite cheese or something like that, and he had like 98,000 replies in less than like 20 minutes. Is that really people that are following him? Or is that an indication of what's happening, right? The moment he put an offer in on Twitter, you saw a shift in alliances, and all of a sudden, like people that were conservative, who are more on the Republican side, right? Because that's kind of where he's not Republican per se, but he leans more that way because he's more conservative and believes in freedom of speech. All of a sudden, those people like Ben Shapiro or Stephen. I don't know if I call him Steven Tucker. It's not Steven Tucker. What's his name? Steven Crowder. Those guys all of a sudden get like thousands of people following them all of a sudden. That doesn't happen overnight, right? Like, how does that happen, right? And so I do think that to some degree this is happening. And I do think to some degree that it's very plausible that we are looking at something that's maybe not like, honestly, Twitter's been around forever. Right. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a heavy social media user. I use Twitter to go on, post things about Twisted World from time to time. But really, I go on to look at the dumb comments that Elon Musk posts, or I go on there to look at football stuff. Right. We play fantasy football. I want to jump on and look at the fantasy football comments. My hope is those people are real. I see them on TV. They're commenting. But at the end of the day, I'm just taking what I got and running with it. But how many times do you jump on those social media sites and see things like giveaways? Right. Or
and how many people like share them? It's because that's what you have to do, right?
Well, a lot of them are on Gleam, right? And so you click on them and there's 15, 20 things you have to do to get tickets to win the prize. I was going to say that I didn't really ever know anyone that ever won one of those prizes, but that's not true because we know Jesse, and Jesse won an Xbox off the Hype one, or Hype Beast one.
Did you see this Xbox?
I did.
Oh.
He won it. He won it for real. But see, I know Jesse. So that was my interaction to confirm and go, okay, this is legit because he really got it. Now, I don't know. I mean, the intention behind control only works to a certain degree, right? Because you still have a large part of the population that's older that doesn't really go on social media, right? Like much older. You've got like your grandmas, your grandpa's age who are on social media, probably a little bit more susceptible to being manipulated this way because they don't think past that. I would say that this is more about social, what do they call it? My brain is just shut off just now. Social engineering, right? It's the idea of getting to know that person, building a relationship with that person, manipulating that person in a certain degree, maybe slowly start talking, your politics or your feelings or nudging them in a certain direction and really kind of changing and manipulating people's minds and mindsets in a certain degree or certain way. You see that in pop, that's how people pull information from people because they make them feel comfortable. So I digress and go back to that comment where I'm getting these really inappropriate comments from women saying, oh, I just want to cuddle. Hey, Al, you're really attractive. Let's talk. Those types of things. But as silly and funny and naive as those things are, like I'm like, this is so dumb. There are
Cool.
people out there that are seeking that type of attention, and that type of attention works, and it gets them. Now, most of those are scams, but the idea that you couldn't manipulate that into posting on a Black Lives Matter post and saying, this is so ridiculous, da, 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 I had a sister that did this, and that all be manipulated and be a lie, to where you now have people that have had similar situations that may not have been skewed a certain way, start thinking and feeling a certain way. You could heavily sway people in a certain direction by just a small manipulation, right?
Let's imagine, though, that you're like this, and let's just use that specific scenario where it's these fake girls, right? They're fake. Yes, Cody, they're fake. Bro, sorry to break it to you.
Bummer.
So these bot females are reaching out to people, and we're all happy men. We're all happy married men. Excuse me. So we're just we don't read into it. We don't care. Just like whatever, trash. Boom, going and it's gone. Right? Ignore the garbage. But how many individuals does that get them to bite? Right? And then how many things come of it? You know, how many hackers from other countries are on the other side of that computer doing this? Or like we're talking about, it's a bot, right? Trying to get him to do something specific. And back to the fact that like I was talking about, like the one article having mentioned the beginning of subliminal messaging and how subliminal messaging has shaped the mind into getting people to do things, whether they normally would have done it or not, through these types of subliminal messages. And so these bots are doing that, right? So these bots are getting people to think one way, and maybe 10 years prior or 5 years prior or 2 years prior or 6 months prior, whatever the case may be, maybe they wouldn't have thought that way. Maybe they wouldn't even have given it 2 seconds. But now there's these different things happening, right? All these little clues and stuff being planted, and their own brain thinks it's their thought, thinks it's there. And what's that other? We've talked about it a couple times. Cody brought it up first, and you've mentioned it a few times.
The mind control. What was it called?
That we know that's a whole other topic in itself. No, where we look back on like a piece of marketing, and we see two versions of it, and we swear it's one, but it's
the Mandela effect.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So your brain, like, it's at this point where I think these people, like, again, we're not going to go political about the vaccine or the COVID virus or now monkeypox or anything along those lines. But the reality is I don't think that more than half of these people believe one way or another, but their brains being tricked into it through possibly this dead internet theory, where again, since 2016, potentially majority of the internet is now bots, AIs.
But hear me,
helping to
take the Mandela effect a step further.
Yeah,
the Mandela effect could potentially prove that the internet died. Right? Because a lot of the things that we're remembering, where do we go to find those things, right? I every once in a while, I'll see like a video on TikTok. He's like, I found it. It was on a VHS at my house, right? And it's of the Tinkerbell flying over the Disney castle and how she used to go up and hit it with her wand. But if you look up on the internet, you can't find that anywhere. So the internet is a source, which has now become this database, this phone book, this everything that we go and look at. But the original sources are gone. So dead internet theory is the idea that it flipped off one day, turned off, and it turned back on, something brand new. So it's possible that Mandela effects are actually a thing, and that the internet is what changed, not our memories. Right? Our memories are what really happened, but we go and you look and you're like, oh my gosh, there was a dash between Coca-Cola, right? And so there's Mandela effects are creepy, man. They mess with your minds, right? Like we talked about these the other day. I remember what's his name? We were just talking about this with Pastor Josh. It's gonna kill me. It's the guy. He's in Jingle All the Way. He is. What's his name?
Yeah. The actor that died.
No. I'll look it up while we're talking. But anyways, no. Who was Sinbad? I remember a movie where Sinbad plays a genie. I thought it was called Alakazam, but apparently there is no movie where Sinbad plays a genie. Really? Look it up. Yeah, and I remember it. It is a Mandela effect. Well, actually, it was called Shazam, I think.
Shazam.
Yeah, Shazam. But now it says we found, like, there's movies on IMDb. He plays a genie called Shazam.
Right.
But they're basically now saying that now I'm finding it's been found and whatever. But essentially, it's considered a Mandela effect because there's no movie listed for him ever playing a genie.
There's a whole article in the movie where Sinbad plays a bumbling genie who grants a wish.
Yep.
The real thing apparently doesn't exist.
Yep. And I remember watching it. Right. So those are
I never heard
to
of it,
me,
but, hey,
I think the Mandela effect,
a great
because
movie.
I understand there's Mandela effects where people have like things that physically happen to them. We heard the story about the person that fell and hurt their leg really bad and the whole thing happened, whatever. But most of the ones I've heard are tied back to some kind of like something they saw in a movie or something they saw on a poster or the logo for Coke or this or that or whatever. They're usually images or things. So it to me, it just kind of reinforces the idea that internet theory is a possibility, and the idea that it reset, and what we're left with was this overrun online system. 5 billion people may be on the internet, but I would assume that with bots that number is 100 times larger. Right, 100 times larger. If there was a way to actually track it down. Right, I don't know. I don't really know. I would say furthermore that if it is AI has done a really good job with bringing the things we call memes, right? Cody's generation, I would think it's more his generation, but like how many times you hear Cody, he's memeing, right? He's memeing. And everything is a joke because it can't be real, right? That's not real. It's a meme. It's a meme. That's not real. He's just it's dank, right? He's just playing with you. And so this idea that we just kind of excuse things away could intentionally be done because memes just came out of nowhere, right? I mean, not really, but they were photos or videos or clips from movies or text on top of caption photos, and they've just become this thing that we use, and I use them all the time, constantly. And but everything has become a joke to where it just allows something. If something was to be happening in the background, it basically gives it less power because someone such as myself or Cody goes, it's not real. That's a joke. It's a meme. So everything would essentially be excused away as something not real because it's so far-fetched. It's a joke. That's not serious. So anyways, we've seen a rise in a lot of those things in the way that we communicate to, I don't know, it allows the possibility for something like this to actually have been happened. How do you prove it though? I don't know. I don't know how you prove it. I know we all know bots exist. Right, we all know that they exist, right? We from the games we play in Warcraft, where people are botting to get gold or farm things or whatever, to being on the internet and commenting on something and ridiculous follow-up comments. We know that they exist. We know they're out there, but how do you prove the sheer number of them? Like I thought to myself, how does Twitter prove to Elon Musk how many accounts are real? Unless you give every person that's a true person willing to go through the background check a blue check mark, how do you actually know who's real? So I'm sure they have some way of knowing an estimate, but how do you know? How do you know? So, I mean, Cody, we've been talking a lot. Do you have any takes on the idea of the internet being real or not?
Yeah, I have like 3. So, let me, I'll save and never mind. So basically, you're saying like, oh yeah, there's like 6 billion people, or so there's 8 billion people, and then like what, 6 billion are online? Is that about right?
Approximately.
Right. Okay. And then like you're like, okay, then there's like 100 times more bots, and it's like, well, okay, but what do we mean by people online? Because people online have accounts. Like I have probably 100 accounts myself. You know what I mean? But am I a bot? Probably not. But they're all under different names. You know what I mean?
No, so taking a step back, I'm going to let you talk. But the people online comment means has access to the internet. Doesn't mean that accounts are being created. It just means that there are 5. Because I think on Facebook there's only 1 billion users.
Yeah,
right? So
and that's what I'm trying to get at is that how do you measure that? Because if I'm under 100 different aliases, and you have to count all the different people, quote unquote, that have access to the internet. I mean, how do you even do that?
Apparently, they have the ability to track second or more accounts. So apparently, there's one way to track an account, and then I have multiple accounts for different things too. But your activity on those accounts, which that can be tracked, is a way to do that. Whether or not they're able to do that on the masses, I don't know.
So you guys got all these aliases. I just want to touch on this, right?
Yes.
If you don't have like 5 burner accounts, you're doing the internet wrong.
Bro, if you don't have at least 6 emails, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You gotta
And-
have you have to have your like email that you've had since you were like 12, right? There's that one. Everybody has that one. You don't want to get rid of it because like there's that one
I got
family
rid of that
member
one.
no, there's like that one email that your
Got rid of that one.
aunt, your great
Long
aunt
time
sends
ago.
you, and you don't want to get rid of it, right? And it's an AOL account. You're like, now it's vintage, right? So I got to keep that one. But then you create a new one, right? But then that one gets overran with spam because you really didn't understand what spam was and how it worked. So you're just getting overrun with spam there. So you're like, crap, I'm going to create another one. So the second that new one is one you don't give out to anyone, like at all. But then you start a business and you're like, I need a business email. This one's got the business name. I'm going to go ahead and use this one for the business. So now you got a business one, but you can't use it for personal because it's related to the business. So you create a new account to do things online with, but not to like sign up for anything like that, but just to have like, if you need to email your friends or what. So next thing you know is you're like 17 accounts deep, and then you're like, shoot, I got an Xbox. I need an Xbox account. So let me open up an Outlook account, but I'll name it the same name. So long story short, yeah, that's how you get 6 or 7 accounts and actively use them all.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying is like there's like a ton of different ways people can like, fool other people into thinking they're someone else. You can have tons of different accounts and different names
Right.
you can go under. Kind of skewing that number is kind of what I was getting at, because it's really kind of hard to figure out even what do we even mean by that, and what do those numbers even mean. But
that number that he's giving is the number. I know what number he's pulling from because I've seen this. This is number of people that have access to the internet.
yeah, I get that.
Individual
like actual people,
contributors.
humans.
Right.
Yeah, humans. Yeah.
Meaning by phone
Yeah.
or computer, they have the ability to access the internet.
Yeah, I understand that. And then
Okay.
we were saying but the dead internet theory is that half of those people aren't real, right?
No,
that
Well, no, that 70% of the internet activity isn't real.
Okay, so not necessarily users, just
Not
anything
necessarily users.
anything
No,
that
'cause
happened
so
at all is
this one
70%.
theorist believes that 75% of the internet users are not real.
Okay, so yeah,
That was their comment.
yeah, so that's how I was talking about. Is like there's like a ton of users, quote unquote.
There's a
you know what
lot.
I mean?
There's a lot to dive into that, and that's a hard thing to really to buy into.
Yeah, and so when we start defining the terms, you find that this gets more mucky and more murky. When you kind of have to define, users, and then like what is real, what is, you know what I mean? Like, what is AI, and at what point does it have feelings, and does it have like an actual personality, and what point is it, real? You know what I mean? Because I think there was a recent story. A Google engineer. Was it a Google engineer? Something like that. Basically, they had said that the AI that they had developed had gotten so developed and so complex that it convinced him that it had developed its own feelings, and that it was sentient, and that he could no longer operate on it, and so he had to quit. Did you guys read that?
No.
Yeah.
I need to see this link. That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, go look it up. It's real. Like he was like, he's like, this is getting to a point where he believed that it was like, okay, this is so intricate that this AI is actually becoming self-aware, and that it is developing feelings and knows what it is, and also understands where it is and things like that. He's like, I'm not going to work on this anymore. And he quit Google.
I mean,
that's way past like Terminator stuff, bro.
but it makes sense, right? So, like the concept behind artificial intelligence is exactly what we see in the movie. It absolutely is. So when you're a part of an AI team, because I've been to a number of conferences for AI, when you're a part of an AI team, you have to have the Terminator ideology in your mindset, because it is a reality. If you give something the ability to make decisions, the problem is that AI lacks emotion. It lacks the ability to be empathetic, to feel pain, to feel love, and do those things. So you become an ant or an anthill when it wants to build a road, and you're just wiped off, right? So the idea of Terminator, like, it's a movie, but if not governed correctly or not created correctly, it 100% can become a reality. Now, whether or not it would destroy us all, I don't know. Like, that's beyond my capabilities. But think about it. Everything we have has semiconductors in it. Everything we have is technology. Like, there's very little nowadays that is raw, old, mechanical, that doesn't have computer chips, unless you're driving an old car and shooting an old gun. So the idea behind what he's saying Like I would be terrified if you weren't the one in control of that and what it was doing and what it was becoming. That's scary. So the idea behind dead internet theory is that somehow one of these got out, or one of these was being used in this way where they've allowed it to make its own decisions.
Well, and that's the beyond scary part. Because remember, a few episodes before, like we were talking about all the virtual worlds and stuff, right? And there was the one article from that physicist and our robot technology, right? And the guy's basically stating that, if this mass AI were to take over, it's not that they would wipe us out of fear or anger, but because we would stand in the way of an objective. And that would be it. And it's not that they're like, oh, we hate human beings, like we sometimes see portrayed in movies. But what it is they see, okay, I'm at point A, I need to get to point B, and unfortunately, this flesh being is standing in my way, and I'm going to have to remove it, not because it hates us or is angry at us, but just because we stop its objective. So the fact that, this Google guy is over here basically coming out and talking about this AI that is having full-blown emotional feelings, that's even scarier, right?
Well, this is the preface to The Matrix.
Right.
The Matrix is built on this AI that ends up taking over and then basically putting everyone into artificial intelligent worlds that are simulated, right?
This only backs that internet theory only backs up the ideals behind like our Matrix episode even more so, right? And the fact that if hypothetically this is true, or any portions of it is true, then we are fully engaged into this world where at any moment they can say, hey, we want them to think this way, and then all the bots do their thing, right, through subliminal messaging and coercion, and next thing you know, you got a majority of the race going, oh no, this is true, right? It's like the one guy I was listening to a guy. It was supposed to be an economics discussion about financials, just because of the industry I'm in, and the guy started talking about the monkeypox thing, and he's like, "Does anybody notice that like at the end of June there was like 50 cases, and now there's like 6,000, and I don't remember there ever being anything about a big jump or anything, and now the U.S. is freaking out, right? You got all these people who are like, no, monkeypox will kill you, but yet there hasn't been a single death. You got all these people that are. It's crazy how now we've converted, like COVID is kind of starting to go where people aren't scared of it or not tripping on it anymore. And now it's the monkeypox thing. And it's just really, there's just a lot of propaganda out there, but it's only, look at it, it's like the people that it's hitting. Like I haven't even seen any of this stuff, but you'll see people on Twitter going, oh, I just saw that like 20 people are dead, but you go to CDC website and there's not a single one. So what is it they're seeing? Right. And so is it back to this control of thought? Is control is it you control a person's brain, you control their body at the end of the day, right? And so that's where this dead internet theory is that's where like it's the utter mind control through the internet, and it's controlled through AI and bots. Some people think it's the governments, some people think it's multi-billion trillion-dollar companies that have an agenda, so on and so forth.
So I'm going to just kind of throw out like my final thoughts on it, right? My final thoughts are I don't believe that the internet is dead, but I will tell you this. I believe the quality of the internet has died, right? What I mean by that is, well, and I'll even go a step further and say like your phones, right? So we think back, let's go back like 10 years. I mean, we can go back to 2016, but maybe a little further, right? Think about like the games that you had on your phone. There was quality to them. They felt right. They felt good when you played a game on your phone. I mean, they're mobile games, mind you. That I'm not talking like anything advanced, but I enjoyed the games that I played. I felt like, I remember this one, and I can't remember the name of it, and I'm sure Infinity Blades. That's what it was. That was a good game. Yeah. Try to get a game like that now, and everything is spam. Everything has ads. Everything is, about money and driving profits. It's less about entertainment and having fun. And I feel like the internet's more of that too, right? Honestly, for me, if I'm being completely honest, with the exception of maybe streaming videos, I use the internet primarily to just look up what I'm going to do at work if I get stuck on something. Right? I pull up a manual, I watch a video. And that's probably the extent of what I do. Maybe I listen to some podcasts, maybe I listen to some audio, but the internet has changed. I don't interact much with social media because the social media that I got a part of back with MySpace in early 2005, 2006, when Facebook came out, is a lot different than the Facebook and stuff we have now. Like now it is primarily reposting ads or posting photos, or like I feel like there's very little actual social interaction happening, and the social interaction that's happening is very like conflict driven, right? Like we argue, or we state our opinions, or we just go on and we like things. It's very, to me, it's very antisocial. It is very, how many times do you, well, maybe not in this circle, but you see something on Facebook and you go, oh, did you see what happened today? And you weren't even there. You didn't even get to interact in it. So I don't know.
No, you didn't either.
Hold on.
No.
There's a wonderful video that describes the phenomenon you're referring to. And it's by CGP Grey, and it's called Anger is Contagious. Or I think it's just called Anger. But it's about anger being contagious. And it has to do with that phenomenon where what you're talking about, where people on Facebook or Instagram will go on there and they will have these conflicts with people, and that's what seems to be the most driving force behind the actual social interaction that's happening on Facebook nowadays. Is it's not like, oh, here's my dog, oh, cool dog, bark, bark, the freaking, comment section. It's kind of like, oh, women's rights, and you're like, hey, guy, I don't like what you said, and then you're like, hey, check out this guy posting this thing, and then everybody's just barking in the comments. That's what Facebook is now. You know what I mean? That's what all social town squares are now, right? It's everything is just a big, field for debate. Everybody's trying to get likes with their best comebacks and best, point of contention or whatever.
But I'll take it a step further. It's broken down the communication for people like us, right? I don't want to go on there and post what I have to say or how I feel because of not fear, but you just know that you're going to be one of the guys that are attacked for having an opinion. Like I left California for this reason. I would get attacked by a bunch of libtards, right? So you start having, I now change the way that I socially interact with those things, which makes me frustrated, which makes me pull away. And I work in a world where we really should be engaged in the technology and all this, but I don't want to be. Right. Or we go a step further and now we're instigators. Right. So I'm not necessarily an instigator, Cody, but sometimes if I jump on, we see someone like Dre post pictures all the time about somebody who will say something about a game or something like this. And he pokes at them constantly. Like he jumps on and be like, yeah, well, it's probably because your son's retarded. And you're like, Dre, you can't. Why are you doing? Like he's an instigator, but just for the memes, just for the fun. So it's turned into this really weird environment where you've just got I don't know. The interactions are not what they used to be. I laugh at my old posts, right? Every once in a while I get a memory. My old post is, it says Andrew Rowland, and I would go, is eating a bagel. Now, I don't remember ever writing that, but let's just say I literally used to write the words is eating a bagel because I thought that's how posts work.
I did.
Everybody did it because that was what it was. It was like, oh, is enjoying a Coke. Right? Like it's stupid, right? It's really dumb, but we all thought that's how it worked. And it was genuine and it was innocent, right? Go ahead.
No. I mean, go ahead. Because I want to throw something at you. Go ahead and finish. I apologize.
I'm just finishing my thought, right? So the idea is that like my sister posted a picture and I remember family going like, Dad doesn't have black hair. And she's like, yeah, he does. And we're like, are you serious? Dad does not have black, and that was a genuine reaction. Nowadays you'll post and sometimes you'll never see anything. Or you'll post and you'll have some ridiculous comments or somebody will start having another conversation about something else on your post. It's broken down, and there's a heavy breaking down to where you now have generational people like myself and Cody. You interact a bit more, but I think your interactions for the most part are business driven, with the exception of a few family or friends, right? But I don't comment on things, if ever, on Facebook. I think I commented for the first time today on someone's post, but that's the first time I've commented in forever. Cody, I haven't seen him log into Facebook or any of those things in probably years at this point, unless he's announcing that he got engaged or got married or whatever. Like that's the only time Cody's ever on doing anything like that. But because
to troll people,
it's to troll people, right?
I said it's for old people, but yeah,
okay, yeah. Well, same thing, right? It is for old people, right? And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't have it if I didn't have kids and I was being tagged. But it's just, anyways, it's just one of those things. we're so detached from one another that it's easy for me to believe that there are bots out there that are procedurally generating conversation or hype, or they're driven with a particular narrative to change or influence something. Absolutely.
And it goes back to, and it goes to the fact that like human beings are slowly where IQs are decreasing and the EQ is increasing, right? And the EQ is the measure of like somebody's emotional competencies, and the human nature, the world as we speak it, is, like I said, the EQs are heavily increasing where IQs are decreasing. Libraries are shutting down. Like people aren't reading books anymore. Why? When you can get all your information on the internet. So, the problem is that's all controlled now. That's what the belief is that. Let me tell you, take somebody that's, and Cody may know, he may not, I don't know, but just stupid little things. Like you ask somebody like who Paul Revere is, bro, and they have no clue. They have no clue. I heard one dude, he was like, oh, he's a music artist. And I'm like, okay, so Revolutionary War doesn't mean anything to you? No? Okay. So at the end of the day, it's easier to control people with a higher EQ and a lower IQ, right? It's just reality, and it's proven fact, just like you guys are saying. Like somebody can get on there and they can say, oh, this is my dog, and then somebody say this, and then next thing you know, it blows up into this big emotional mess that it was never meant to be, because people's EQs are high, right? These emotional stances are overtaking intelligence. And the intellect of academic competency and the ability to reason is all what IQ is, right? So that being decreased, you're having all these emotional outbreaks. It's also easier to control. You throw something out there, oh, Trump hates women, and then all the women are like, oh yeah, screw Trump, right? Or Biden this, or whatever the case may be. And it's so easy to control that. And then so you tack on the fact that everybody and their mom, with 5.03 billion people being able to interact with the internet, you can throw anything you want out there and you're going to get an emotional response. And then that's where they start the control, right? And so that's the belief, is the dead internet theory, like we were talking about with marketing, right? And that's where they tested the grounds. So that's where the subliminal messaging tested the grounds via the internet. And now it's like, hey, we can throw anything out there, boom, boom, boom. And the masses will conform to it because intellectual academic competency and the ability to reason is not there. It is our country alone. Let's just talk about our country, is lacking the IQs that it maybe did 20 years ago, right? And they're believing it to be heavily, their responsibility being heavily weighed on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, right? I make comments all the time when I'm talking to my wife about how I believe that society has gotten moronic. We've gotten more dumb. The movies, things like I reference WALL-E, but there's also like Idiocracy, where you've got morons out here that haven't been able to grow crops in 100 years because they've been watering it with Gatorade, right? So that is showing you a society that is degraded so far, but it all came from this messaging of quick, easy, fast. We're going long, and I know that we're gonna wrap up, but like going back to your thought on the intelligent piece, and I'm not probably going to be able to explain it exactly how I heard it, but I was listening to something the other day, and they were saying that societally generations get to a point when they come of age where they create the new, and there's a new genre of music, or there's a new genre of something that pushes forward. And music was the one that came up and that kind of pops in my mind the most. Is what are you seeing a lot of right now popping up when it comes to music or pop culture or TV shows? Is we're seeing a lot of 80s music, right? We're seeing a lot of that generation music and stuff like that coming back, rock music from the 80s, that kind of thing. Marketing and sales tend to drive the popular, or where the money is, or where the intelligence is. And so you're seeing a lot of that money, because where the money and where the popularity and where the curve on where our society is going right now are the people that lived through the 80s listening to that music. Now, yes, someone like myself who was born in the 80s, I enjoy 80s music too. I like watching the TV shows. But what they're saying is that societally, we don't have the intellect to create a new, like the Beatles did, or like Elvis did, or like somebody from the 80s did with the music from the 80s, that we're not creating something new. We're actually reverting back and leaning back on what was created before us. And that is the usually the sign of a dying society, is where we no longer progress and we no longer create. We tend to lean back and pull from behind. Now we fashion, that type of stuff, we always pull back and pull forward and that type of stuff, but we usually reinvent. We usually reinvent it. We're not reinventing it right now. 80s music is very popular, and it's the old music. It's not 80s style music. It's the actual music is what's popular. The actual styles are what's popular, and there's not a lot of reinventing in that. And so that usually is a sign of a society that is behind, and that a society that is not intellectually driving forward. We're a bit off topic on all this, but the idea being that these bots have created an environment where either answers come quick and easy, conflict comes quick and easy, and we were really playing into that ADHD, that ADD kind of mindset of quick, easy, fast, resolve things now, and just that's what's going to happen. And go ahead.
No, I just found this excerpt from People Magazine, and this writer writes, and because I wanted to see what thoughts were about EQ versus IQ, right? Because I've been studying this stuff and how the people are truly just. It's not that they're dumbing down. People, there's theorists that believe that EQ is its own intelligence and IQ is more academic and reasoning, right? And EQ is emotionally driven. And this person writes, EQ is more important because a prestigious degree and a lucrative job means nothing if you have no one to share your success with. EQ triumphs IQ in soft domains. It helps you gauge your employees' moods, their emotional state, and to understand their reactions and weaknesses better.
Sounds like he has no one to share that with.
But listen, so he goes on, and he basically saying that if you can't connect with people, it's the IQ is worthless, right? And I'm not necessarily saying that there's not a piece of that is true, but he's saying that EQ is far superior than having an IQ.
But see,
the problem is that emotions are driving. They're easier to control.
Yeah,
I was going to look at Hitler. Proven fact. He controlled people through emotion, not intelligence.
However, he was highly intelligent.
He was highly intelligent.
Yes.
Yeah, he used their emotions, not his own.
You don't manipulate through intelligence. You manipulate through probably emotion. a paired between emotion and intelligence, right? Use your intelligence to use your emotion.
Manipulation.
The problem there is that intelligence is usually driven by awkwardness. It's usually driven by non-social factors. I'm getting a little bit too deep in that, but the idea is most intelligent people are awkward people.
Elon Musk
is an awkward dude.
Yeah.
Now, he can type fine, and the reality is you cannot tell emotion in text. That's why memes are a thing. But the reality is that most intelligent individuals are awkward or have a social awkwardness to them, right? I'm way too cool, so I'm not smart enough.
No. So then there's Cody. I mean, we're still.
He was awkwardly being quiet this entire time, so he must be highly intelligent.
Highly.
I've got two more things to go over whenever you guys are ready.
Oh yeah,
let's let him wrap up. He sparked that conversation too long.
Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is that I know we're talking about bots a lot, but I think trolling and troll accounts go into this hand in hand too. Absolutely, because I mean you're impersonating someone you're not. It also goes along with manipulating behaviors and social engineering and all that fun stuff. So I just want to bring up the fact, I don't know if you guys knew this, but in 2019, I'm going to read the article just so I get it right. In 2019, 90% of the top Facebook Christian groups are all ran by Eastern trolls.
No way.
Oh my goodness.
19.
I actually heard this stat. I don't know if I heard 90%, but I did hear the stat that a lot of them were run by trolls.
Yep.
Wait, when you say Eastern, we're talking about
like Russians.
Like, oh my.
Yeah.
So Russian trolls own and orchestrate, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They run 19 of our top 20 Christian Facebook groups.
And what do they believe? And this is not fact. This is somebody theorizing this, I'm sure. But what do they believe is the intention?
Oh, what? Someone theorizing this? It's not a theory.
Oh, it's not a theory. That's actually been proven. I'll
link you the article. I'll link you the article, my guy.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's awful. Here, what? Here, I'll put it in the chat for you. Here you go.
No, it's a real thing. And then and I don't. I know it's we label it as troll, and they are trolling it, but I think the idea was to get into the roots of who we are, right? It's infiltration, really, is what it's about.
Yeah. And it's, and you can play with someone's ideology. You can kind of twist some things in there, maybe. Maybe you can, maybe you can like sway some things. Yeah. No, there's a lot you could do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they have the names of all of the groups in there for you, Aaron. If you want to look in there, you can see the name of all the groups.
Now, I don't know. Were these groups removed? Or do we know if they're still active?
I don't know. This is an article from 2019. So I mean,
drawn by LGBTQ Nation.
What?
That's the website that wrote this article.
Oh no, there's what's it called? I heard it. I mean, not everything on the internet's real, but the reality is that it was the stoke of the fire is that you have
troll farms out of Kosovo and Macedonia.
It's the actual article is on relevantmagazine.com. I'll link that one for you.
Oh, I get
I think it's just some
website. They're all spinning off each other.
So what's number 3?
So what is the other one?
What's number 3?
Number 3 is that I'm going to give you guys a second on this, and I'm going to have you ponder it for a moment. People are bots.
Just think about Matrix theory.
Just think about that for a minute. It's not, but think about it.
Well,
just think about it a little bit.
Pre-programmed.
No. Just think about it a little bit more deeper than that. It's people act like bots all the time. People are NPCs. They give not necessarily. I'm talking about like people give bot responses to things all the time. They have some people on the internet will like give like the most basic responses to things. They'll say the most generic things. They'll say the things that everybody is saying. So everyone will be this giant herd of people. Think about the term like nice or cool. When you go in like the comment section of places like that, you'll see like, people will just comment. How many times can you find the same comment over and over and over and over and over again? It's because people are freaking bots. People are NPCs, and some of those people are real. Some of those people are real people. I can't tell you which ones are bots, but I'm just saying I know people will go on there and do that. And I'm saying that
I know this is silly, but I bring it back to what we do for a living, right? I remember when we first got you into IT, right? I used to say, when you go to close out a ticket, don't just put a template, right? The problem is that the IT guys in general, we go in and we put a template, and that template is I'm going to close this out resolution. It says this ticket is closed or this ticket has been resolved. If you have any problems, please contact IT support. Blah blah blah. But the template just gets put in there. I used to always say, make it personal, right? Make it personal because every time you can write kind of the same thing, but you don't want to get to a place where they don't believe that you're really doing anything. I want people to know.
I got one of those at work.
Yeah,
I like a little bot thing that pops up.
I am having this conversation with my people right now, and I'm like, put your name. Say, hey, you change the verbiage, right? But like, hey, worked on this issue. Here's what I did. At this time, the ticket's going to be closed because it's been resolved. If you have any issues, follow up with me. Thanks, Andrew, right? And I do that because I want people to know that there's a personal touch on what I'm doing and that I am actually taking the time to write this. I'm not going template, done. Now, if you have 20,000 tickets, you got to do what you got to do. I get it. But that kind of leans back to like life. How many times, Cody, go to our chat, go to any of these chats, and I go, hey, Cody, are you free? And you go, yep. Or, hey, does this time work for you? And you go, K. I write K, the letter K or KK. I do that 1,700 times a day.
Then that's what I'm saying is that everyone's a bot. Like people are just bots. And so like, have you seen the videos? You played Oblivion, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like, have you seen the Oblivion NPC conversation videos?
Where they just loop?
No. It's like it has nothing to do with like actual.
Are they real people?
Yeah. It has nothing to do with the actual Oblivion gameplay, but it's basically like if you've played Oblivion, and if you're listening to this, if you played Oblivion, you know what the NPCs are like. They're stoic. They don't have facial expressions because it just wasn't coded into the game. So they have a stoic face and they don't have emotions, but they're saying words with somewhat of a monotone behind them, and sometimes it can be a lot of expression, a lot of emotion, but their face stays the same. And so what people will do is they'll find examples of this in videos on the internet, and they'll put the Oblivion background music on it, and it'll look like the game. And so they call it Oblivion NPC conversations. Also, NPC means non-playable characters, aka just a bot. So basically, like, it'll look like something from Oblivion, because they'll have this stoic look on their face, and they'll be repeating the same dialogue like an NPC. And so it's funny, like it'll be like kids skating, and someone will be like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you skating here? Why are you?" They'll ask like repeated questions over again, and they'll be like, "We just came here to skate," and they'll be like, "You need to put helmet on," and then you need to leave. You need to, and they'll just say like it over and over again. They'll like ask him real questions, but he won't respond with real answers. He'll respond with the same dialogue he's been pre-programmed to have. It's really funny. So that's what I mean, is like people can just be bots sometimes. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, I read too while you guys were talking just a little bit about this Russia thing. I mean, even this in theory, because they don't. For sure, they think it's human beings, but this could be bots, right? These sites could be bots to troll and to do whatever it is that they want it to do, right? And that's the whole thing of this dead internet theory, is that there are people everywhere that may not be people, they may be bots. So at the end of the day, you know, for all of you listening, just, you know, for me, I'm just going to say, be careful what you believe on the internet. End of story, right? Don't let your emotion be swindled from you.
Really think someone would do that,
gents?
I final thoughts is do your own research, right? At the end of the day, bots, if they're intended to sway the mind, don't just take things at face value. I think do your own research. You know, for those, like, I go to church, and I like when a pastor says, you know, don't
read it yourself.
Read it yourself. Okay, yeah. I will, right? And so you go and you read it, and you're like, okay, cool. You either validate what they said, or you find something new in it. And so I would just say that if you're listening and that's kind of what you do, and you find yourself just mundanely skipping through, and you have all these people that comment and argue with you, and you feel irritated by the time you get off the internet, probably stay off of it. It'd be the first thing. Not engage in that. That's part of the reason why I think a lot of people like Instagram, is because there's little engagement. It's really just photos. But at the end of the day, there's a whole nother take there. But my take would just be, you know, disconnect a little bit more, do your own research, and have your own mind on things instead of being raged by people on the internet.
Yeah.
Cody?
Code.
Trust nothing and no one. Everything is a lie. You can't verify anything anymore. And have fun knowing that.
And those girls hitting on you ain't girls, so stop believing it.
Right. Everything's a lie. Nothing is real.
That's right. Twisted World fam, as always, we love you. We're glad to be back, and we'll be at you soon. We're out.
Peace out.